9:04 on the Mike Calta Show. It's Friday. You're wondering what to do this weekend. And I can tell you that my man Craig Gass is going to be at Side Splitters. How was the last night's show?
Last night's show was great.
See, Craig and I talked about going out to dinner on Wednesday, and these guys would have told you immediately, Craig, that I probably was not going to go out to dinner.
He loves to tell people he's going to do stuff and then not do it.
But not because I don't want to, because it seems like a great idea now. Then roll around like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have one eye open, and kids telling me what I have to do for them, and all.
We call him an optimistic liar.
Thank you. That's what I am.
Well, let's inform everybody in this room that it actually was me giving a vague invitation to say if you're available for a meal, and you said, "Yeah, you know what, dude? Wednesday."
You're on, Craig. You're on the short list of people that I would enjoy having a meal with. Like, I don't get to see you very often. We keep in touch during the year. We text each other every once in a while.
We have a lot in common.
We've also been friends, if you will, for, God, it's got to be 15 years.
15 years.
So, you are a guy that I like. It's weird because some guys don't like you. Do you know that?
Oh, really? Like who?
I wish I'm not the kind of guy to shy away from naming names, Craig.
Okay.
But there have been times where I've said, Craig Gass, and people were like, and I go, why, you don't like him? No, either. And I go, what is the thing? I keep waiting to not like you, and it's not happened in 15 years. Like, you're such a mystery to me that I keep waiting to find out that you are. But then again, even if you don't lie, there's nothing to lie about. Like, all right, the one thing that I think Craig lies about is Craig does incredible impressions. Which
oh my God, I love it you're saying this.
We talk to each other.
I love that you're saying this.
We talk to each other like human beings and not like, hey, so Craig Gass is here. Tell me what you. We talk to each other like human beings so much that on our last show, I don't think you did one impression. And there are people that do, like, you know how people do Christopher Walken? Jay Moore came out as the Christopher Walken guy, but a lot of people can do Christopher Walken, especially if you listen to it. A perfect example is Lorne Michaels. People who've never met Lorne Michaels can do an impression of Lorne Michaels because so many other people have done it. Just what it's become. You, though, there are 2 that you do to me, and there are more that are great, but there are 2 that you do that are way ahead of everybody else's. Your Al Pacino would fool Al Pacino. If you called Al Pacino and said, I'm calling you from 2025, he would believe it. That's how good it is. And your Tracy Morgan makes me, like, having had Tracy Morgan sitting across from me and talking to him, you make me nervous like I was that day when he was here. Like, I never know what's going to happen. Like, I'm afraid you're going to say the F word, even though I know you're not. And Craig claims that his ability to mimic these celebrities is because he is the child of 2 deaf parents, and all that he did to learn was from TV, and I do not believe him. I think you're a goddamn liar.
Well, first of all, to back up to whenever I felt hatred from anyone who I don't know.
Yeah.
It's usually associated with, why is that guy?
100%.
Why is that guy doing cool stuff?
Why is that guy on Howard Stern show?
Why is the guy on the Howard Stern show? Why was he living at Eddie Van Halen's house?
Why was he on TV?
Why? Well, now we're getting deep.
No. But we're saying it's a jealousy thing. Is it not like a jealousy where why can't I be him? It's just like people are like, man, how is he getting all this success? Because you don't do anything traditional. Like you playing Side Splitters is the first time since I know you that you've played a club in Tampa Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
You other times you call me up and you're like, hey, I'm playing Billy's Coconut Hole in Largo, and I'm like, I never even heard of that place.
Yeah, and I would come in because I would book it a week ahead of time. And I'm like, I'm coming to see Metallica.
Yeah.
So I just booked a show at some one-nighter.
Which is smart because it'll usually pay for some of your trip and you can do it.
Yeah.
But also you like to perform. But they are never, ever clubs that I've heard of or we do business with. Like maybe it'll be Snappers will be the closest thing. So for you to come here and do Side Splitters is odd. And I think other comedians and other people are like, they don't quite get what you do, but yet you've had success. So I don't think it's a hatred thing. It's just a weird.
But there's things that I've experienced that way more successful comedians don't get to experience. Like living at Eddie Van Halen's house, being on the field of the Super Bowl with my favorite team, and my favorite team bringing me into the locker room to hold the Lombardi Trophy. It's like.
How?
He's been like on 5 TV shows total, and they're all like episodic, So I always get a lot of there's always a lot of, there's no way that guy really was on the field at the Super Bowl. Then they see the video. There's no way he really lived at Eddie Van Halen's house, but then they hear the people who were at in Van Halen's world. But I've never had somebody go, there's no way your family's deaf.
I want to get a phone call from somebody in your house that goes, I'm Craig's dad. That's the only way I'm going to believe that your family is deaf. I think you made up that story, and I think you should stick with it. Don't even tell it. Well, come on. That's not true, right?
Whole family, my mom, my dad, and my sister, all completely deaf. In fact,
your sister too.
My sister too. Yeah.
How lucky are you that you didn't get the deaf gene?
Dad was born completely deaf, and then when he was a kid, he got into an accident and popped out his eardrums, so he had to go to deaf schools for the rest of his life.
So he was deaf and he lost his eardrums?
No. He was born with his hearing, and then he lost it.
Okay.
And then so they had my sister first. My sister's born with my mom's genes, completely deaf, and then I'm born with my dad's genes.
Did your dad meet your mom in some sort of deaf school or something?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes a little more sense.
Lexington School for the Deaf in New York, and
you know sign language?
Yeah, terribly, but I know
okay.
some.
All right.
When I sign everything, I'll spell everything out, and my words are terrible. But I'll spell. Whenever I see deaf people in distress, I'll always try to help them out, but I usually have to have everything spelled out for me.
Right.
And as a kid, I would do these signs that were wrong, and my mom knew what I meant. And so as I got older, whenever her friends would come over, we'd all be in conversation. They look at me and they go, "Why is he signing wrong?" And Mom would go, "I know, but it's so cute. My little stupid kid, my little moron." And yeah.
I had a good friend named Charlie who had a deaf older sister, and she was gorgeous. And the first time I ever went there, and she was fighting with her mother, which is weird because one person's yelling and the other person's silent.
Quiet.
And then she turned around, and she looked at her, and she goes, BS. She did the BS sign is a little bull like rock horns crapping at the other end. And I started laughing. I go, is she saying BS? And he said, yeah. I go, that's great. So now I taught it to my daughter, and every once in a while when I'm arguing with my wife, my daughter will walk behind my wife and go like this to me. Yeah. So
it would trip out friends of mine. Like I remember my buddy Jeff that I grew up with. My mom was driving us to the midnight movies, but she's actually dropping us off in the parking lot, and we're going to walk to a party.
Yeah.
And my buddy Jeff's in the back seat, and I turned around and I go, "Are you chipping in for weed tonight? Because last week you said you weren't going to smoke any, so you didn't chip in, and you ended up smoking half of what we had." And he goes, "Dude." He goes, "She can't hear." And he's like, yeah.
Oh, that's a good advantage.
Yeah.
Now, how did you, since your sign language isn't great, how did you communicate with him? Did you?
I did sign to them, but they always knew. But my sister hit me up recently, and she said, "Hey, you should look at these videos. It's sign language, blah blah." And I go, "Why should I look at it?" And she goes, "So you could brush up on your sign language." And I go, "I'm not brushing up on my."
You're the only one I talk to.
I go, "You're the only one I talk to. I don't need to learn this for anybody else." I'm not gonna. But yeah, it was unusual. People always felt weird when they came over. People even just talking about it. People get sensitive. I talk about it on stage now, growing up in a deaf family, and
if you did lie about it, it's the greatest lie ever. In my mind, you lied about it, and you've stayed so solid with the story. That's hard to do, man.
Did he learn a little bit of sign language just to go along with it?
Yeah, Or we don't know. So he could be like,
I know sign language.
What's funny is my dad actually moved here. He moved to the Tampa area near Palm Harbor.
Yeah, not far at all.
And he passed away 2 years ago. And my mom and dad got divorced when I was 4 or 5 years old. My mom used me as her interpreter for the divorce.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I didn't go to court with her.
She did not do this. Yeah.
Well, she would have me make phone calls to the lawyer. Now, deaf people have a relay service they can reach out to the outside world and vice versa. But before that, she had me. She had someone in the house who could hear, and she would have me call the lawyers. I was 4 or 5 years old, getting a huge vocabulary lesson. Plus, my mom is standing on top of me going, "Tell him your father's a son of a bitch." And I was like, "You got it, Mom. I'll tell her. Screw Dad."
Do you know a-hole. People used to give me inside information through the relay service? I would be at my cell phone. I remember I was in my old house. I answered, I was like, "Hello?" And they're like, "This is a relay service." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Somebody who most likely is deaf is trying to send you messages." And I go, okay, who is this? And then they would be like, that thing you talked about this morning, it's not this guy, it's that guy. Here's his phone number. And I'd go, who is this? And they go, we don't know. We can't. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I go, can I use this to call something? They're like, yeah. So once you figure out how to manipulate it and use it, you can do that. But yeah, that was very interesting when I got those calls. I thought the FBI was calling me, and I got very nervous.
Yeah, I would always get like, there would always be like some kind of, like people would half understand what was going on in my life. I remember Tracy Morgan saying to me, your family's like retarded, right? And I was like, no, they're not retarded, they're dead. Okay. So they wear like football helmets and stuff, and I'm like, no, what are you talking? They're deaf. They just can't hear. That's all. They're just deaf. They're just deaf.
Let me ask you. I love Frank Caliendo. He's another guy where I don't even need him to do jokes. We sit here and talk and we laugh, and then he does the voices sometimes. But he says, like I heard in Mad TV, they would give you a cassette that just had that person speaking over, and you'd listen to it all weekend. And then you'd work on your impression of him, because people that couldn't really do impressions would just have to come kind of close for the show. So he works on his impressions. With you, I feel like one day you just did Tracy Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
It's great, yeah.
Dude, there's a voice that I did on your show that I just started doing. I started on your show, and then I pranked somebody on your show. And then I just started doing the voice all the time. And it was a guy who couldn't have been nicer to me, and he hates me now because I do the impression of him.
Who is that?
Tom Arnold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't have been nicer to me. I don't know if I ever told you the story. The way I met him was on the phone. Never recorded it. I prank called Tom Arnold. I was doing open mic. It was mid-90s. One of the open micers was like, you guys know that Hilton that I work at in downtown? All those stars for Planet Hollywood that are coming in, they're all staying at my hotel. And I was like, who are the stars that are there? And he goes, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Arnold. And I go, Tom Arnold's at your hotel? And he goes, yeah. Tom Arnold had just killed it.
I love that he said Schwarzenegger and Stallone. You didn't care. Arnold, you were like, ooh, Tom Arnold.
Because Tom Arnold had just killed it in 9 Months and True Lies. Hilarious. And
he is very funny. I love Tom Arnold.
Really funny and honest. Yeah. Like he's loose-lipped.
Like I've hung out with him, and he didn't drink, but we hung out and partied, and he's a fun guy.
When I got back to my home, I going through the phone book, and I looked up the Seattle Hilton, and I called, and I said, Seattle Hilton, how can I help you? And I said, hi, Tom Arnold, please. And they said, okay, just one moment. And they put me through. Yeah. Tom picks up the phone, and he goes, hello. And I said, Tom, it's Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison had been dead for 5 years at that point. And Tom Arnold goes, hey, buddy, how you been? What's going on, buddy? And he just started talking to me. And I go, Tom, I need you to help me out. I'm in the afterlife, and I need you to help me out in hell. And he goes, whatever you need, buddy. I'm here to help you out. What do you need? And I said, well, I need some cocaine. And this is kind of a tricky story. First of all, I want you to front me the cash because I don't have any money. And then this is where it gets weird. I need you to get on a plane, fly back to Los Angeles. I want you to take the cocaine. I want you to drive to Jerry Lewis's house. And then I want you to take the cocaine and put it in the small pocket of his pants, and I'll have it when he gets here in 3 weeks. And then I stopped and I said, Tom, I'm sorry. My name's Craig Gass. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm a huge fan of yours. And he goes, man, that impression is so good that I need to call my sponsor right now. That's how good that impression is. So are you a stand-up comedian? Are you from here? And I said, yeah. I go, do you want to go to open mic tonight?
You said it? You invited him to an
open mic's at 8:00. It's only 6. And he goes, I can't make it to the open mic. But hey, do you have like a tape or something I could watch? And he had me drop off a tape at the hotel. A week later, he calls me up and he goes, hey, man, I think you're very talented, and I'm going to give you my phone number, okay? I'll give you my email address, and if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. And then I started telling that story.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to meet you, I started, it just became like an impression. So I started doing the impression on your show, and we scared Steve-O on your show. That
was, to me, so Steve-O and I have a pretty good relationship. And I said to Steve-O, when he was on the show for the first time, I looked at him and I said, there are rumors you're going to make another Jackass movie. And he's like, yeah, dude, we're talking about it. And I go, at what point, I love him. I never laughed harder than I did the first one. I said, at what point are you worried that you're just gonna be a bunch of old guys doing dumb stunts and it's gonna look bad or whatever? He took that and for the next year went on every television show. Dude, Craig, I swear to God, he was on Larry King, and Larry King's like, "Jackass, will there be another one?" And he goes, my man Mike Calta from Tampa, he brought up a good point. He said, we don't want to look like stupid old guys doing it. And I was like, wow, he really took that to heart. Then Rogan. Then all these shows that were on. I mean, he went on Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla and Love. And every show, he was like, I don't know. Mike Calta told me and I was like, no, I didn't say it. I was getting emails from my friends in New York. Why are you stopping Jackass? You're ruining the Jackass franchise. Everybody's blaming me.
Wow.
And so Steve-O and I have this good relationship from then. I think I was the only one who was really honest with him. And also, I did an interview with him without asking him to staple his nuts to anything. I wanted to know how he got started. I want to know about his dad and all this stuff. Because he was right in Sarasota at clown school. You know what I mean? It was a big... I needed to know the origin of these things. And I have a natural curiosity. That's why I think I do a good job at this. But anyway... So Steve-O and I, over the years, we stay in touch. We get matching tattoos together. We've become friends. Yeah, I said to him, I was on a roll with tattoos. I'm like, we should get matching tattoos. Then I thought, this might be my thing, where me and celebrities get matching tattoos on the show. I think that would be pretty funny. So Steve-O said yes, and then he picks the tattoo, and now we both have Grindr tattoos, which, if you don't know, is a gay sex app. And mine is so prominent that every picture I have, you could just see that first. Thank God it also looks like a warrior shield, so some people don't know. I remember Miguel, the gay guy I used to work with, he walked in and he goes, "You gonna grind a tattoo?" No, shut up. So anyway, that when you came in, Steve-O was in town doing a show with Tom Green and Tom Arnold.
And this became one of two of the greatest moments I've ever had in radio, and they both happened to be on your show, and they were both prank calls, but this was a prank call.
This was a prank call. We called Steve-O in the hotel as Tom Arnold, and Tom Arnold oh, no, you were in the studio. Tom Arnold's in the studio.
I'm sober.
You're supposed to be sober.
No, but I'm in real life, I'm sober.
Right.
I know in real life, Steve-O's sober.
Right.
Tom Arnold is supposed to be part of this show they're doing, and Tom Arnold is sober. And I thought it would be funny, or maybe you thought it would be funny to call him and say, I just relapsed.
And I thought it would be funny, but you took it over the top. We called Steve-O, and you were like, you were not 100 miles an hour cocaine, Tom Arnold.
Yep.
And Steve-O is saying to me, Mike, you can't do this. You got to stop it. And me loving him and knowing whatever, I have to deny. I go, no, this is good radio. This is good radio. And I'm like, I'm ruining our friendship right now. I'm ruining our friendship because he may not think this is funny even when we tell him it's a joke.
Yeah.
And you went crazy with it.
It was from that prank call that I started doing the impression of Tom, specifically at the Super Bowl. I go to the Super Bowl every year, and they have the Super Bowl Media Center. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the Super Bowl Media Center, there's no famous people there yet.
Right.
Thursday, famous people start showing up, and then Friday's insane. It's just famous people all over the place. Fish in a barrel. And on the Monday, Tuesday...
Which, by the way, we got beat here. Last time the Super Bowl was here, it was COVID.
Oh, so
and
nobody.
I insisted that we be somebody down there because I'm telling you, we're not going to miss this. It's the greatest celebrity gathering. And it was just two guys sitting there in the empty convention center. But no celebrities came by. It was just a bunch of sports nerds and us sitting 400 feet away from each other. It was awful.
Even the interviews for Media Day were online. Like nobody got to talk to players in person. But at the Media Center, my radio friends will say, "Can you join us as somebody famous?"
Right.
So it sounds cool back in Des Moines.
Sure.
And the only remotely sports guy I can do an impression of is Tom Arnold. And I will...
Because he was on Best Damn Sports Show.
Best Damn Sports Show. And I'll hit all these radio stations as Tom Arnold and just go full-blown Tom Arnold and go, "Man, it's really exciting being here at the Super Bowl. A lot of famous people are coming into town. I was at a Cocaine Anonymous meeting last night with Brett Favre. Isn't that crazy? Brett's a big... I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but Brett's a big cokehead. And his sponsor, believe it or not, Bob Costas. Bob's addicted to upskirt porn. And again, I shouldn't say that out loud, but he's always pumping off at work. And every year... the internet will attack Tom Arnold.
Sure.
And go, "Dude, it's supposed to be anonymous.
Right.
What's wrong with you?" And Tom Arnold will fight every individual who comes at him and go, "Did you notice that Sam Kinison was on the air? That guy's been dead for 30 years, you idiot. That wasn't me. It's a comedian named Craig Gass, and I wish he would stop."
It's so great. He's got to love it.
The other one that I did on your show, and this really bothered me because, I mean, I love Steve-O. I see Steve-O all the time, but I love Bert Kreischer.
Hey, the reveal to Steve-O was one of my favorite moments ever because he stopped, was in shock, and then cried laughing.
Really?
Oh, God, he was like...
remember that.
Yeah.
Well, the other one was Bert. I prank called him, and I don't know if I ever told you the follow-up to this because it's even...
I don't remember the prank call to Bert. What did we do?
I was in the studio with you. Bert was calling in. And you said, "Hey, if you don't mind, when we get back from this, I'm going to have Bert on. He's calling in to promote the show." And I go, "Yeah, that's fine." And I said, "Dude, we should." Let's have Tracy Morgan. And there was a weird thing going on with Bert
and Jay Moore
with
the Tracy Morgan
over a story over Tracy Morgan. Bert never wanted to tell the story because he was scared that it would upset Tracy.
Right.
So as Tracy Morgan in the studio pretending to be Tracy, I told Bert that I was going to kill him.
Yes. So the story is that Bert has this great story about Tracy Morgan telling you how to get out of paying a tab at a club, and he didn't want to tell it on the air because he was a new comic and all that. And then Jay Moore is like, "I'll tell it. Can I tell that story?" And he said, "Yeah." And then Jay Moore told it.
And according to Bert, Jay just took it, and Bert didn't give him permission to do the story.
Well, he let him do it the one night, and then Jay began telling it as if it happened to him, and it evolved into that, and that caused huge problems between the two of them, then problems between me and Jay, and then now Jay and I are very cool, and Bert and Jay don't talk at all. It's still a bad situation.
Wow.
Bert, Jay and Tom don't talk. Jay and everybody. Jay talks to me and his wife, I think. But anyway, so it was a really, at the time we did it was really heated.
And I told Bert I was going to kill him as Tracy Morgan, and Bert goes, That's a really funny. I don't know why I'm thinking of Tom Arnold when I'm doing Bert, but he goes, "Dude, that's a really good. That's a good Tracy Morgan." And I go, "It's Tracy. I'm gonna kill you, Bert. I'm gonna kill you." And I tried to think of a mutual friend that we had, and I said, "You know Todd? Remember Todd from the club? Was it Todd? What was his last name? It was a black comic." I said, "You know why you don't see him anymore? Because I killed him, Bert. I killed him." Todd Lynn was his name. I said, and I was just thinking of a mutual friend.
And we would never, it's not somebody famous.
Bert and I would always hang out at Boston Comedy Club, and Todd Lynn was always there. And I said, "I killed him. That's why you don't see him anymore." And then Bert slowed down and just started apologizing on the air. And he was like, and he kept insisting, "That's a good impression. That's a good impression." And then you were like, "No, it's not an impression, Bert. It really is. It is Tracy." And then he finally stopped and said, "All right, listen, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." And he started apologizing to me on the air. And then I find out a few days later, Todd Lynn is dead. Todd Lynn has been dead for a year.
That's funny.
I had no idea Todd Lynn
so
was
funny.
dead. Yeah. Oh, it was.
By the way, I talked to him yesterday, and I go,
Todd Lynn? To Bert?
Bert, and he goes, "Hey, man." And I go, "Hey, buddy." And he goes, "What's up?" And I go, "Are you everything good?" He goes, "Yeah, it's great." He goes, "This tour." I go, "Are you getting burned out?" He goes, No. He goes, "We just all did mushrooms last night." And I thought, you are living the goddamn life, man. You are living the life. They're jumping off the Space Needle. They're doing mushrooms every night, and he's with his wife and kids. And like everybody's having a great time. Good for him. I'm so happy for him.
It's amazing.
And he's not burned out. He said he's still enjoying it, and everything's going great. So.
Well, I got to tell you, I texted you after I was on with you on Monday. And I said, I go, "Dude, I never even got to this. No.
And
there's so many stories I wanted to get to. And then I'm pulling up in your driveway, and you go, "When we come back, we're going to talk about cheating." And I was like, "Oh my God, I want to talk about cheating."
Cheating. Yeah.
And I was like, because did you know up until a few years ago what the number one way men were getting caught cheating in Los Angeles? It's so obvious, but you can't even think of it.
I feel like we talked about this.
I think we talked about it. Is it to do with this?
The watches?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I thought it was the Apple Watch because, We had talked about
I remember that.
Like,
That's what I recall.
yeah, they're
no, I don't know.
spiking it like 2 a.m. where they have the cardio way up, and the wife's like,
"Oh my god,
what were you doing at 2 a.m?"
I was doing cocaine, no big deal.
No, this is such bulletproof evidence that
As
you're
a
cheating.
married man for 20 years and a non-cheater, Craig, I cannot answer that question. I do not know.
The number one way.
What are you laughing at?
The number one way that. By the way, this show this morning has been all over the map. I get in the car and you're like, how are these famous people having sex with ugly women? And then you come back from commercial. We got to help these teachers out, guys. Got to help the team. And I'm like, who is this show? Like, what is the personality of this show? It makes no sense.
We have 6 stations in the building.
Yeah.
And the relatively new station, it's been like 10 years now, Hot 101.5, it's top 40 station. They bring every morning show they have, at one point comes to me in my office and goes, hey, do you have a minute? And I go, sure. And they're like, I wonder if I could pick your brain. Maybe we can go to lunch one day and maybe you can give me some advice. I go, look at me. Look at my eyes. I go, I have no idea how this happened. I don't know how to maintain it. I don't know what it's about. I go, I have no idea what to get. I don't know anything. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how it's going so well. Just do your thing. One day talk about this. One day talk about this. I have no idea.
Just whatever you feel.
I am filled with things that I want to talk about. Like if people always say, that must be very hard. It's not for us. Especially with these guys, we could sit in here and just talk about something interesting. Like yesterday, I talked about this thing I found on the internet, all this stuff on Instagram, and Instagram is my main social media area, and all the things I watch, girls and porn always come up in my thing, and it's good. I like to see girls and all that, but I got somehow in the algorithm where this guy who is a cobbler and makes shoes got in my thing, and I mean, this guy was taking a pair of shoes that had a hole in it, stripping it down, cutting the leather, putting the layers on, shining it, and then hand tapping the nails. And I go, after an hour, I'm like, I've watched this guy make like 90 pairs of shoes. So I tried to turn these guys onto it yesterday, and we're talking about it. I got an email after the show. Guy lives in Lakeland, half hour away. Really? And he's right here, and he's a gold champion medal-winning cobbler. All I can do is talk about things that I am interested in. That's it. And whether or not people agree with it or like it, I have no idea. It seems to be working.
I just got that guy off my algorithm, the Asian guy who just places drinks on his crotch and then pulls the shit. Like I finally got him off my algorithm.
In the beginning, he was good.
I'm not looking. Yeah. I'm not looking.
In the beginning, it was very funny.
The number one way that men were getting caught cheating in Los Angeles for almost 10 to 15 years straight until they stopped doing this program was red light cameras.
Oh, yeah.
They do that here.
They take the picture and they send it to your home.
Yeah.
And you're at work, the mail comes in, your wife opens up this ticket, and there's a picture of you, and who's this
somebody
chick?
in the car.
There's someone in the car with you. That was the number one way that men were getting caught cheating in Los Angeles.
Wow. You're gonna get caught if you especially like that. I don't care. I don't open an email. I don't even know what comes here. My wife could open the mail. I don't care about that. Yesterday I was talking about. I asked you for some reason if you went through your wife's phone and found out that she was talking bad about you to one of her friends, would you be mad about that or whatever?
Because that happened to you?
Yeah, and no. And my wife's friend that rats me out all the time, Nahal, called up and she goes, I think Mike's going through your phone. I was like, God damn it, no.
Wow.
She's cool. I know. I don't really, they're just friends. And she's, I think, are you listening? I think he's going through your phone. And I'm like, I'm not. I don't care what you have on your phone. I don't want her to go through my phone. And then my kids have this thing called Life 360. Do you know what that is?
No.
That's
I've heard of Life
360. Okay, so that's an app that my wife has on her phone and that my kids have on their phone. And whenever they come or go or wherever they are, she can pick up the phone anytime and by their phone tell where they are. So, and then when my son comes home, as he pulls in, it hits up Joey's home. Joey left. Joey went here. So in the middle of the night, if he decides to sneak out and drive away, it'll hit us up and say Joey left, which thank God it's never happened. So my whole point is that I can get that on my phone too, where I can track my kids, but then they could all track me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I don't know why, because I'm not really hiding anything. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm in public view. I can't do anything anyway. You know what I'm saying? I don't know but I don't feel like I want anybody to know I wouldn't want my father now at 50. I don't want him to know where I am at all times. I just feel like that's a huge invasion.
Do you talk are you open with your kids about sex, drugs, everything?
Everything. Well, my daughter's only 10, so not so much sex, but yes.
Okay.
But my son is 17, or he'll be 17 next month.
Honest conversation.
Smokes pot. I know all about his stuff. It's the only way to have a good relationship with your kid is to be honest with him.
You just don't want him to know where you're at.
No, he can, I don't mind him. Like when we play with our band, we play a gig, I go, hey, we're gonna be playing at this club by the beach. Is pretty cool. If you want to come down and hang out, like I want him to be there. No, not anymore.
No, kids.
Yeah,
Dude, I remember going to an Aerosmith show once. A friend of mine works for Aerosmith, and he goes, "When you get here tonight, there's this kid Tony. He's 13. He's a huge fan. Can I introduce him?" I said, "Of course." So he brings me backstage, and he goes, "Hey, Tony," he goes, "this is Craig Gass." And the kid goes, "Oh, my God. Oh, my God." And he's a huge Howard Stern fan. And he goes, what was Hank the Uncle Drunken Dwarf like? And I go, "Oh, man, let me tell you something." I'm telling him stories, and I'm looking at this kid, and I notice he's got this all-access laminate. It's like the ultimate all access. And I'm talking to him, and I go, how do you get one of those? And he goes, it's my dad. And I go, "What does your dad do?" And he goes, my dad's Joe Perry." And I go, "Your dad is Joe Perry? And you're talking to me about Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf?" And he said, "My dad doesn't wear shirts." And I go, if I was Joe Perry, I would never wear a shirt. And that is universal. Kids don't want to be around their parents.
Their own parents.
You see that picture of Slayer? The singer Tom is they're taking a picture. They're on a red carpet, and he's like giving metal horns and doing a face. Yeah. And his daughter's in the background. She's like 13, just rolling her eyes. And you're like, your dad's the singer for Slayer.
Dude, next week when I get to Seattle, Taylor Swift is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Duff McKagan, Eddie Vedder are going to the shows for their daughters.
Yeah.
And
do you need me to go as your security guy?
And when they go, their kids are like, "All right, Dad, leave us alone."
Yeah. That's it. Look, I ask every celebrity who we have here that I think is cool that has a kid. I go, "How old when your kid started to think you were cool?" My kid think I'm cool, but not because of this. Like not because of the radio. They don't care at all about it. My daughter maybe a little bit now, but like Joey will care when I can get him to meet a celebrity. You know what I mean? Like Joey met Tom Brady, and I was cool for 24 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that sort of thing. My daughter, I got her because she went to see Taylor Swift, and she becomes this huge Taylor Swift fan. And I have an autographed 8x10 that Taylor Swift's father gave me and a bunch of guitar picks of hers. So I've been sitting on them, and I was like, because she was little when I got them, and I go, "Hey, do you want this stuff?" And she goes, "How'd you get that?" I go, "Taylor Swift's dad gave it to me." And she was like, "Oh, my dad knows Taylor Swift's dad." I was like, "Ah,
now you're cool for a second."
But I got to tell you, I sat down with Taylor Swift's dad at a hockey game. And I didn't even care that there was a hockey game anymore. Talking to that guy about the just being the father of somebody that's that popular, having just had a daughter, it was so interesting. And he's such a nice guy. And the respect that I have for her after watching this documentary that they have about her and just knowing about her early start in the country radio and knowing a lot of those people that in her life that were screwing her life up because I did country radio for a little bit. Yeah. It's just a very interesting whole story to me. But
I'm the same way. I am endlessly curious about stuff, about life, about human behavior. I know no one is going to care about this. I'm a football fan, but my team is the Seahawks, okay? There was a guy who came to our organization named John Schneider. And when John Schneider came in, suddenly everything changed, and we had, for the first time ever, a team in contention.
Right.
And it was super exciting. I go to training camp every year, and I film interviews with the players, but I'm never of the mindset of, like, I want to be friends with any of these guys.
Right.
Because I know that when we were kids, these are the guys who would have called me a homo. Right. When I was a kid. So I know that. I know that's who they are. So I'm not trying to be friends with them. But one night, I went out to dinner with a bunch of people from the Seahawks, and they said, "Oh, John Schneider's coming." And I go, "John Schneider?" And they go, "Yeah." And they go, "Hey, John, this is Craig Gass. He's a comedian. He's been on King of Queens and Family Guy." And he goes, "Oh, no way. I love comedy." And he introduces me to his wife. And we all go out. We sit down for dinner. And I genuinely like to know how couples have met. Like, how'd you guys meet and fall in love? And he goes, "Oh, well, we met. I was growing up. I used to stalk her in school. She didn't want anything to do with me." And I go, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah, well, I was always dating somebody, and he was just he was weird. He would always stare at me in the hallways, and then he hit me up once and said, "Hey, do you want to go out?" And I happened to be single, and I was like, "All right," but I did it because I kind of felt bad for him. He just seemed kind of sad, and then I liked him, and then we got along, and then she gets up to go to the bathroom and goes, "Hey, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a second." And then he turns to me and says, "So we kind of fell in love in high school. After high school, I get a job with the Green Bay Packers," and I go, "Okay, now when you go to Green Bay, are you a football fan?" He goes, "I love football. But I noticed in football that everybody values football players the wrong way." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah. The way they value football players is they watch them on TV. That's the wrong way to watch them. Because when I play football, I'm looking down the field. I'm not looking at football from the sidelines the way you watch a game. Right. And when you look at football looking down the field, it changes everybody's value." And I went, "What?" And then his wife came back and said, "Oh my God, I have another funny story about John." I go, "I don't care." I go, "Shut up, I don't care." I go, "Hold on, this guy's letting me in on his secrets, how he put together a Super Bowl team. I don't even care about this. Just stop." Yeah. I'm endlessly fascinated by human behavior.
Yeah.
Which is why the people I do impressions of, I'm fascinated with them. Some of them are not nice to me, but I find them.
Who cares?
You know.
Can I tell you about Tracy Morgan real quick? Is that so David Wells just had his 60th birthday party. So that means 20 years ago when he had his 40th birthday party, he had some people flying in for the party. So while he was working, I went and picked this guy up from the airport who was the VIP security guy from the China Club in New York. So I don't know the guy. I pick him up as a favor. I'm driving with him to Palm Harbor. And we start talking, and I go, "So you in the China Club?" He goes, "Yeah, in the VIP." Unassuming guy. I think he was a former NYPD, skinny, long hair. And we're just BSing back and forth. And I go, "So, like, is it just celebrities in there?" He's like, "Mostly." He's like, "Sometimes really super rich people." He's like, "But it's mostly celebrities that come just to try to get away from people." And I go, "Who's been the biggest jerk off there?" And he goes, "Nah." He goes, "They're all pretty cool, and they all tip pretty good." He's like, "They all, take care of me because I take care of them." And I was like, "Who's the craziest one?" He goes, "Oh, without a doubt, one stands out among everybody." And I go, "Who?" He goes,
"David.
Tracy Morgan."
Oh, my God.
And I go, "Keep in mind, this is Tracy Morgan's second year on Saturday Night Live, maybe." And I go, "Brian Fellows?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, I go, "What?" He goes, "This guy every night will be practically naked, standing on a table, doing shots, pouring." And he goes, "I have to take him down every night." And I go, "Tracy Morgan, Brian Fellows, that little quiet guy." That was before anything with Tracy Morgan. I had no idea what he was like. Then a couple of months later, I have him in the studio, and we are also doing make your own homemade bikini with these girls. We're having a contest, and I'm on a country station at the time, and they're all like kind of fat, hot girls. You know what I mean? Like hot girls, but they all got a little chunk to them. They're country girls.
Yeah.
So we were the last studio down the hall, and I hear Tracy Morgan come in, and he is loud. Comes down the hall, and he comes in the room, plopped on a chair. "How you doing?" And I go, "Yeah, good." I go, "You ready to go live?" He goes, "Yeah." So I hit the thing, I go live. I go, "Hey, Tracy." I go, "I heard you screaming from down the hall. Did somebody give you a hard time?" Like I thought there was a problem. No. Let me ask you a question. Was there ever a better relationship, a closer bond than Han Solo and Chewbacca? And I went, "They were like brothers." He's like, "They were like brothers." And I felt like I had stepped into another world, and I walked right into it. And now I'm trying to interview him. These girls are half naked, and he's like, "Let me ask you a question. Can I lay under a glass table and you squat over that table?" These girls were horrified. It's him and like two other giant
Perfect
black
commentary
dudes.
from Carmen.
Dude, it gross. It was like he would be all over you, Carmen. He would, not sexually, but just saying stuff to you. He was making me laugh harder than easily. Tracy Morgan and Bobby Lee were the two guests that I never thought would make me laugh as much as they did.
One of the first times I ever met him, I introduced him to a guy from System of a Down. And I said, hey, this is Chavo. And he goes, yeah, I'm personal friends with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I used to live on Dagobah. I used to mess around with Yoda's cousin. One of the greatest entertainment business stories I've ever heard in my life. And I tell this story on stage. I've been opening with this at Side Splitters. And I know I told you this when it happened, so forgive me. It was a few years ago when this happened. I'm getting ready to open for Dave Chappelle at Caroline's. It is 2001. Dave was doing like 4 or 5 Monday nights in a row where he would roll out clips from this new show called The Chappelle Show. He's like, hey, I want you guys to check out this show. And then some guy came up to me, an agent, said, did you hear about that party last weekend? Tracy Morgan had a party turned into an orgy. I was like, what? He's describing this crazy orgy scene. Right at that moment, Tracy Morgan walks around the corner, and I go, Tracy! I heard your party was messed up, man. And Tracy rolled over, and he just eyeballed me, and he said, it was crazy. It was crazy, Craig. You know what's crazy about it? When you get off on my floor, you don't even hear nothing. You don't hear nothing at all. Then you start walking towards my apartment, but you still don't hear nothing. Then you knock on my door, but you still don't hear nothing, right? And when I open the door, there's buttholes and toes everywhere. What? That's the best story ever. Just because I've never heard the phrase before, I said, did you just say buttholes and toes? And he went, yeah. Before he added, some of them toes were in the butthole. And he walked out of the room. It's the most amazing story I've ever heard in my life. And that, by the way, is the censored version of that story.
Oh, Carmen, are we done already?
Oh, we are.
If you come to Side Splitters this weekend, you'll hear the uncensored version.
Listen to me. Craig's got great stories.
And
go see him. Yeah.
I'm performing with Bobby Slayton this weekend. Side Splitters.
No, you Bobby Julie screwed it up.
No, it's Bobby Slayton. No, Bobby Slayton's going to be there.
Shut up.
Bobby Slayton, listen, I'm going to be there this weekend. I'll be coming out there telling jokes. I'll be telling jokes about Mexicans and Jews and everybody. We're going to be out there, all right? You're going to have a mo. You can have a mo, you can have a mo, or you can have a mo, okay? So come out this weekend. Come out to Side Splitters and have some fun. I want to thank everybody at Side Splitters. I want to thank everybody at the Courtyard by Marriott up in North Tampa. And thank Craig Gass for coming out this weekend.
That is pretty good, man. I don't think I've ever heard the Bobby Slayton before.
God damn it. I never even got around to the stories.
You didn't get to Pacino?
You didn't get to Pacino? Hoorah. Let's just run through them.
Just say, hey, Al, your thing that you put on the internet about Al Pacino's Baby was, I played that so many times, my wife told me to stop playing.
Really?
I swear to God, dude. I had it in the car and I just kept playing it over and over again. And she goes, stop.
I love the idea that he's 8,300 years old and that he has a baby and that baby's out there going, boy, I got it. I just pooped my pants. It's just the dumbest premise in the world.
By the way, I don't know if you do an imitation of him or not, but when you did that whisper that you were talking about just a little while ago, Alec Baldwin. Do you do Alec Baldwin or no?
Yeah, because Alec Baldwin used to hang out with me and do like impressions for me all the time.
Oh, really?
Alec
Because I know he does like Tony Bennett. And
he does Tony Bennett. I've told you the story about Alec Baldwin almost got in a fist fight with Al Pacino. I told you that story. And yeah, Alec would come into my trailer every day and go, "Can I hear some more of your Al Pacino?" It is your Al Pacino.
So the greatest story is you. I'm gonna leave half of the story so that you could tell it on stage if you want to.
Okay.
But you convincing CNN to give you Anderson Cooper's cell phone number as Al Pacino.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So save it for the air.
I have on tape prank calls to Donald Trump, to Sean Hannity, Anderson Cooper, Jay Leno, and I almost got Letterman on the phone. For one whole morning, I started calling everybody's Al Pacino, and everyone wanted to talk to Al Pacino. Come out to Side Splitters this weekend. I'll tell you about it.
By the way, I know we have to go, but a little bit of breaking news. They have a suspect in custody for the Long Island serial killer who is 11 different people. And it is a guy that looks like he
would kill people?
No. He's like a manager of a grocery store.
Oh, really?
He looks like a normal guy.
Does he seem like a guy who doesn't turn on his tracker so his kids won't know where he's at on the weekends?
100%.
Wouldn't that be crazy if he came right back to here?
Go see Craig Gass. He is going to be at Side Splitters, sidesplitterscomedy.com. You can go pick your tickets or 960-1197 to make your reservations. Great seeing you, buddy. Thank you.
And again, I think we can summarize. Why do famous people have sex with ugly women? Mm-hmm. And let's help out the teachers.
Yes.
That's what we've been trying to say this morning.
We'll see you guys on Monday. If you want to go to Bare Knuckle Fighting Carmen, we have tickets left.
Yes.
Call Carmen. Save me a pair, okay?
It's happening tonight, Lakeland.
Yeah. We'll see you guys. Bye.